Hey, welcome back. So I posted part 1 of the berries. So I got looking at this last night and I was contemplating my leaves. And you know me, I got looking at the blackberry leaves and I'm like trekking outside, looking at the leaves in my yard going, those don't look like blackberry leaves. I'm like, oh boy. I'm like, those could have been wild raspberries. But then I'm like, well, those don't really look like wild raspberry leaves. Then I was like, oh my gosh, they could be just about anything. Does it really matter what kind of berry those are? Does it matter if they look like blackberry leaves or not? No, not really. It doesn't matter. Here I am trying to make it make sense, but it really doesn't need to make sense. It doesn't need to be the right leaf for the right berry. It doesn't matter. It doesn't have to be identical. It really doesn't. I was just looking for comparison purposes. So don't do that. Don't try to match the leaf to the actual berry because it threw me for a loop. But anyway, I took a little inspiration from the outside world and I think I got a color palette that's going to work for whatever berry she chose for this particular bookmark. I will probably never know. Anyways, I picked a specific palette, which I might have posted in the image of part 1. I changed it a little bit, so let's go with this one. Hopefully you can see it here. Let me zoom for you. I know you can zoom in because I posted a video how to zoom in, but I'm going to try to zoom here. Why jiggle my camera for you? Oh my gosh, yeah, right. Why am I having a... There we go. Oops, might have zoomed too far. Can you see that? Okay. It's nighttime as always because the lighting's really crap. Okay, 988, 1097, 1005, 1089, 989, white, and 1067. So again, those numbers are for Prismacolor, 988, 1097, 1005, 1089, 989, white, and 1067. So those are the colors we're going to use on just the leaf part. So these big leaves here. I have a little bit of a different color palette for the flower and the stems and the outer leaves underneath the berries. Not too much different, just a little bit of a different color contrast. So let's get started here because I don't want to make this video too long because I do want to include the background in this part too. So I'm going to do a couple of, tongue-tied here. I'm going to do a couple of these leaves with you. And then through the power of video, they'll all be magically done because I'm hoping that with me doing a few of the larger ones with you and some of these offset ones and maybe one of the little ones, you will finish doing the rest of them on your own. Because I think once I give you an idea on how to do a couple, since they're all pretty much the same shape, you can do the rest on your own. And then we can skip to doing a few of these outer ones under the berry and the little flower. And then we could jump to the background. So I don't think I need to do each individual leaf with you since they're all, like I said, same shape. Otherwise, I would do each individual one with you if they were a different shape or a different color palette. But we're going to keep the palette the same. So I'm going to let you do them on your own like I did with the berries since they were all pretty much the same color palette except for that one. I like to let people try it on their own. I know color alongs are nice when it's a full color along, but when things are identical, I want you to do it on your own as well. It gives practice and it helps you understand better how to do your colors. I have full step-by-step color alongs as well, and you will notice my full color alongs are really long, and sometimes I just put music to it because that's a lot of talking, and there's not a whole lot to talk about. unless I just go on about nonsense, which sometimes I do. I get on tangents, and I don't like to do that like I am right now. Okay, let's get started. Hopefully you can see I have to turn this. So we'll start on these bottom two here. Actually, no, let's adjust this. Let's start on the top two. That way I'm not running my hand down. Can I scooch this up and pull it down for you? Let's start on these top two. So let's start with 988. That's our darker color, which my little short guy here. So, yeah, I'm going to try to stay out of your way. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to start from the vein of the plant, right here, the center line of the vein. I'm going to start, and I'm going to go from the vein outward. And I'm doing a light coat, so I'm just going to lightly go from the vein out. Not all the way to the edge, though, just like that. I'm just going to repeat that from the vein out. I'm going to do a couple layers from the darker point on the inside where the vein is going out. Now at the very top here, I did go over that vein line a couple times with my dark pencil. And I'm not going to go all the way to the edge with the dark, but I am going to get a little bit darker right at the top because it's on the left side where the sun is not hitting or the light. It could be a little bit darker there. Okay. Now I'm going to just do that for every little section of the leaf because you can see in between there it's dotted. I'm just going to fill that in lightly with a couple layers. It doesn't have to be perfect because you're going to put a couple different colors over this. So make sure you're going from the heaviest to lightest. So meaning you got your darker color at the vein or the heaviest layer at the vein. And as you're working your layer outward, it gets lighter and lighter. So you do that just one or two times. And keep it light. Don't press heavy. Because you want to blend these colors when you lay down the different colors. And don't worry if you get all the way to the edge. You'll be able to color correct that in the end with when you apply your lighter colors. And I like to use light layers. That way I'm not applying too much color at once. Because it's easier to add more color than it is to take away color. So I'm just going to, again, do this for each little section here. And as I get towards the bottom, again, because it's less and less light at the bottom, I can go a little darker. Especially with that very last one. Okay. Now, on this one to the right, I'm going to start at the bottom. And it's got a little bit more of an angle to it. So it's kind of angled upward, the veins. So, again, I'm going to follow the line of the vein from the inside, but I'm going to, in a different angle, working my way up. So, from a heavier pressure towards the center line and a lighter pressure outward. Doing a couple layers. And then I'm going to do that for each one again, following that vein and following the line of the veins. And this time I'm doing less. So let me get this layer down here and you'll see what I mean. See how I used less color here? So it's a little darker right here and then less color going towards the next leaf. I'm going to do that all the way up. I'm not going to bring that dark color as far out as I did on the left-hand side. because I'm going to add more light color to this side because the sun or the light is hitting that side more. It's in more direct light. So I want it to reflect more sunlight hitting it. You know how leaves change color the more the sun bakes it, so to say, or as the seasons change. So as I'm going up the leaf, I'm doing the same pattern all the way up. And I'm just kind of color adjusting as I go up. So if I need to add a little bit more on the base, I do. And I'm going to do that all the way up from dark to light. So I'm darker in the center, and my pressure gets lighter as I work the color outward. And again on those last two at the top. And just very little at that very last tippy top one. Okay, I'm going to apply a little bit more down here where it looks like I need a little deeper tone. Just a little bit more color there. And I want that vein to stay dark. So I'm just going to trace that vein line with this dark color. A couple good layers in there. I'm not pushing heavy. I'm just repeating it, going over and over with my pencil. Because you see how sharp my tip is there? So you know I'm not pushing heavy at all. Now, you can do this method on all of these if you want. So I'll just turn my page here because my page is at an angle to you. So I know it's funny on camera. But I will do this one with you with this same color. So we can just go ahead and do this one with 988. I'm just starting at this line, but it's the same method. The right-hand side has more light, except for at the bottom here. So even though the right side has more light, the bottom of it is less exposed to light on both sides. So I can be a little darker with my color towards the base. But I'm just following the individual pattern between the veins with this darker color. And this really narrow one right here. I got my TV going in the background. You ever watch that show, Midwives? I've watched the series before, but I didn't really fully watch it. You know, you clean the house and you kind of catch bits and pieces of each episode. So I've been trying to watch it all the way through. I know a friend of mine has been watching that series, that Oak Island treasure hunt where they never find anything. Oh, that show made me mad seasons ago. I quit watching it. Okay, on this bottom part right here, I'm just going to go ahead and fill in this very last little vein all the way across with that dark color with 988. Because it's the very last section. There. Now, I'm going to finish this one all the way up. Just repeating the same technique. And again, remember, we have all these other colors to blend in. So you can see how light my layers are going to be. But in the end, it'll all come together with the multiple layers, just like the berry did. And it really is just technique with Prismacolors being as soft as they are. And don't worry if you're still learning. This really comes over time. And it's something I wanted to tell you too. If you're one of those people that jumps from pencil brand to pencil brand, it'll help you. Trust me. Pick a pencil brand you like. I don't care if it's a dollar store brand or if it's a high-end brand. Find a brand of colored pencils you like and stick with them for a long time. Once you learn those colors, you will thank me. Because once you learn color numbers and colors in a box of pencils, no matter how many numbers or how many colors are in that box, it becomes like muscle memory. Your blending and color choices will become secondhand. Not all colored pencils have the same names, and the colors are just a little bit different in every box. So having to think which color to choose when you switch brands or switch pencils can become difficult. That's why you see certain artists will gravitate towards one brand that they're used to over and over and over again. Like me, I jump right for my Prismacolors because it's a brand I'm so used to using. But I do use my Polychromos, my Derwents, my Holbeins, my Luminants. I use my Arctics colored pencils. I use a lot of different brands all the time. So don't think I only use Prismacolors, because I don't. But Prismacolors, I could tell you color numbers and names in a snap. So stick with one brand for a long time. And once you've learned your color names and your color numbers, and you can just say, okay, I'm going to pick up this green, and I know this particular green, I can blend it with this green or this red or this blue, and you get it down, color blending will become second nature to you for that brand. Excuse me. Then it's easier to switch brands and start learning a new brand. But it's so much easier to stick with what I'm doing here, by the way, sorry, is I'm rotating to get to the other side. Now, because this is going to be what I call the left side, because of the way I had the drawing. This is going to have what I determined to be less light. So I can be a little bit darker, but because the way this leaf is sitting, I have made the determination that this leaf is getting direct light. So the less light effect is going to be at the base of this leaf. So I'm going to put more dark at the bottom here where it's getting less impact from the light. Miss Gretel's over here off to my left being a little heathen. I wouldn't be surprised if she tries to poke her ugly little head. She's so cute. She's not even ugly. Okay, so I'm going to do a little bit lighter towards the edge here. Oh, yeah, now she's trying to steal my pencils. No, give me that. Stop it. Stop it. Gretel, stop. Sorry. She's trying to eat my pencils. Okay. But anyways, like I was saying, sorry, this wire is getting in my way. I got to rotate. Hopefully you guys can still see what I'm doing here. But like I was saying, when you're learning your colored pencils, sticking to one brand is really the best way to learn. Stick to them, learn them, get to know your pencils, learn how to blend that brand, learn your numbers, your names. And it's always fun to switch up your colored pencils. I say do it for fun because we all have a problem with collecting pencils. It's just who we are. But when you sit down to do an extensive project, go for the colored pencil brand that you like to use most and the one that you're trying to learn the most. Because that is the one that you're going to use most often. And that's the one you want to build the best rapport with. most professional artists will have one favorite or two favorites, and they will know that brand of pencils or pens, whatever they use, like the back of their hand. So I say, pick a brand and stick with it long term until you know it. I know people that really love Black Widows, and I have a set and I really do like them. Those are one of my alternates to my polychromos. I do like those. I like them a lot. Black Widow came out with such a phenomenal set of pencils. They are budget friendly to buy by the set. But if you were to sit down and buy them all at once, they can get a little spendy. But it is a beautiful set of pencils. So the company that made those, kudos. Great pencils. Beautiful all the way around. But there are so many. The color numbers and names have kicked my butt for the longest time. So I'm still learning those. Some of the polychromos I know for the most part, but I still have to look. But again, Prismacolors, I got those down. But again, those are my go-to pencils. So learning one brand, do it. Pick a brand, stick with it. You will thank me in the long run. And again, it doesn't matter what brand you like. Pick your favorite and stick with it. Okay, what I'm doing here is I'm just going over making my lines even, so where I want the darker points with just this color. So I'm just adding a little bit more of the darker green here, kind of just evening out. Because I was yakking, so. Okay, good enough. I'm going to put a little bit more back on this one here. I'm going to bring it just a little bit more to this, just a little light color to this end there. And we'll do this one, just a little. And we'll go up to this one. A little to the end. Not a lot, just a little. Because I want to keep this mostly light. Okay. Now, I'm going to flip. And see, we got this little half one down here. Uh-oh. Kind of out of camera. Okay. See, I told you, if you buy a lap table, be careful which one you buy. See, this one has this stupid little thing in the way, which is great because you could put your pencil there and it won't roll away. But it's a real pain in my booger. It gets in my way. Everything catches on it and it's... hold on. Arg. I'll flip it around. Okay, much better. Now flip my book around now. Okay. Everything catches on it when I try to set something down. So annoying. And then the texture was off. It has a texture on it. So nothing I put on it is flat. Okay. This one. Oh, doggone it. See, it's kind of a half leaf. We're going to do this one too since we're on this color. Same technique. Since this one is kind of folded upward, like the leaf isn't laying flat. So, of course, the bottom here is going to be your darkest point right here. So I'm going to go right along this main line, and that's going to be my darkest point. And I'm just going to do the same technique from dark to light with the same color, 988. I'm going to do it at each individual little section here, following the path of each individual center line. So you see those little dotted lines in between. Sorry, I'm at a weird angle here. You can see what I did there. So I worked from dark to light, and then I get in between this little section here. Because that flower, see that flower kind of overlaps it, so you're going to get more dark right here. So you can add a little bit more darkness in there, because that flower is going to give a little bit more shading, which means you're going to get a little bit less bright light in there. Okay, get that tip up here. Not a whole lot on that tip. Okay, that's it for that little guy. And then we have, at the very tippy top, we have these two little tiny leaves. So you got like a half one down here, and then you got this little one. These are pretty simple since you have your center vein, and then you got your half leaves right there. It's the same kind of technique. I'm just going to follow the vein with the deep, dark pencil. Just going to outline it here. I'm not doing anything real fancy because these are real small. I'm just going to apply a little bit of this dark green. That's it, just at the base there. Right from the vein outward. All I did was went over that line that Ellie already drew. And the same with that little one. I'm just adding a little bit of that deep green there. Nothing dramatic. Okay, just a little tiny bit. Okay, now the next color I'm going to grab here, just to keep in sync with what I'm doing. Since Gretel chewed up all my stuff, my list go. Little monsters. My 1097, which is this green. It is the moss green. So with your moss green, let's start with this one here. Can you see that? So let's start with this moss green now. I'm not going to do anything with the very tippy top one, but I am going to start with the one right below it. Right from the inside out. Again, I'm going to go over it with the light touch. This time I'm using kind of a circular motion because I'm going to blend those two colors together. But with the light touch, and I'm not going to bring it to the end. I'm just going over what's already there, one layer. That's it. You're blending those two colors together in a light layer. I know right now you're thinking, oh, this is going to be so ugly. It's going to be one mucky color green. No, it won't. I promise. It'll look good when you're done. You can always choose different greens if you like. This is just the green I chose because the leaf threw me because it didn't match my berry. So I got cranky and I went with something unique and something different for my palette. Plus, I wanted the berry to stand out. I didn't want the brightness of the green leaf to take away from my berry. I wanted my berry to be my focal point. Gretel, what are you chewing on over there? She's into something, as always. Okay. Anyways, you're going to repeat this step on every single leaf we just did. Remember, don't go all the way to your end. Leave that little bit of white at the end. And if you have little bits of white in between, that's okay. Don't stress on that. Just keep going. Do it for each one. We're just repeating this until you get a nice good layer. Now remember, don't go real heavy because that's not what you want to do. You're just blending and getting a good layer of the mix of the two colors going on. Your goal is up here to make sure you leave a nice good white space here. Because we will be adding extra light colors on this one. But anyways, like I was saying about the colored pencils, there's that special learning curve. I'm going to go up here to this guy. Mix these little guys up here. While we're talking, I'm leaving that little bit at the end, right at the edge. I know it's probably harder to see what I'm doing because this one's so small. But I am just pretty much following the pattern of the vein and leaving that little extra bit of light at the end. I wish you could see what Gretel's doing. She's in her toy box. It's so cute. She has this big, giant woven toy box. It's got a cat's face on the front of it. It's really cute. She's in there digging out toys. She's got like 100 toys, and I go to bed at night and get up in the morning, they're all on the floor. It's like playing 500 card pickup, but with cat toys. Okay, now I'm going to do this one. So, again, back to what I was saying. What she got? Oh, she got a blue mouse. When you learn or a specific brand of colored pencils, I gotta rotate. When you learn a specific brand and you've got them down, you'll be whipping out color combos so much easier than before. You'll be remembering them. They'll just be second nature to you. You won't have to look to remember them anymore. They'll just come. They'll just be in your memory. That's why I say muscle memory. And it's easier to recognize color blends. And it'll help you to understand color theory better. And I think that's where a lot of people struggle, is they mix their brands, and it's fine to do that, but it's easier if you understand color theory. But if you're still struggling with the basics, you might want to just stick to learning with one set, because eventually it will all click with just that one set of colored pencils. You'll start to understand color family and things like that. And when I say color family, I'm talking, blues and reds and purples, and which family they belong to based on the color that they represent. Okay, so again, all I'm doing here is just putting that light layer. And you'll notice each leaf looks a little different. It just depends on how heavy I went with the color. And that's kind of up to you. You can go light, you can go heavy. So each leaf, you can make them identical, you can make them different. Just by using the same colors, you can still make them look very different. Anyways, we're going to repeat this over here. But once you learn your your colors on one set, and let's say you're bored with it, you want to try a different set of colored pencils, you'll very quickly learn what I mean and how hard it is to pick up another set of colored pencils and learn those color names. It'll be easier to look at the color and recognize your color choices by color rather than color name. So you'll be able to pick color blends quicker by color choice than by color name. And it just so happened that when I was younger, Prismacolors were the colors I used. So those were the ones I stuck with. Anyhow, okay, we're going to do this little guy at the bottom here. This little half one. Am I still in your view? Let's start with this little guy. Okay, hopefully my TV is not too loud. But have you ever used the Arteza colored pencils? I don't use them too often, but I do like them. They have some really unique colors in their set. I've seen a lot of people complain about the 120 Expert set not being readily available anymore, and that's true. I've looked and I'm not seeing it. So the next color we're going to grab is 1005, which is your lime peel. And I'm going to start up top here with this little set of leaves. And right in here, I'm just going to go over what I've already done. Just that little half leaf there. Now down here, I'm going to do the same thing. I'm just doing small circles, and I'm kind of going over blending those two colors together a little bit. And I'm working the white areas. I don't know how good you can see that in this little small area I'm working. I'm just blending and pulling it into the white areas I'm working. But I am going to leave the tip on this far right side. I'm still going to leave that a lighter area open for now. Because I'm going to come back and put a different color up in there just to lighten it up. And I will come back in with some final detailing with a darker color. Okay, now I'm going to move down here. I'm going to start at the bottom, and I'm going to start from the inside out again, and small circles, blending my way out. And what I'm doing is I'm blending those three colors and I'm working it to the edge. And I'm still staying within each vein. I want to keep the detail there. I'm not trying to blend away the I guess the line art underneath. I still want to see the veins there of the leaf, so that when I go to add my detail lines, I have something to follow. And you'll notice I am still leaving certain bits of white on certain areas of this leaf, because there's still a little bit more color to add here. But I'm not doing it in every spot of this leaf, just certain spots. And the reason I'm doing that is because light, there is a, where light is going to reflect a little bit better, so where more light will hit. Okay, I'm going to go down here. And you may have to come back a couple times and repeat some steps. And again, that's all about building layers with Prismacolors. So this is not your final step, by the way, so you shouldn't be burnishing your page at this point. You're just adding layers. And again, this is that one leaf where you're going to have that extra white area. So don't try to fill this all in yet. Still leave that bit of white there. But you can see how the color's starting to come about now. Now you're going to do this for the other 2 leaves, or leaf and a half that we have. Just remember, you're not burnishing the page yet. You still have more color to add. You're just mixing the color together and bringing the color outward. Keep in mind where your light's going to hit. And if you want to make that area lighter, or you just want to fill it in with the green. So like I said before, if you work from your dark out, it's going to bring your dark to your light. If you work from your light down, it's going to bring your light to your dark. So in some situations, it really matters. In other situations, it doesn't. But it can really make a difference in how your color blends blend. So you want to kind of take that into consideration when you're working with certain tones and shades, because it can really make a difference in your colors, especially when you're working with like a really dark color and a really light color. Like if you're using a dark fuchsia and a light pink together, it can really make a difference on that. It's all about how you do it, your technique, etc., and what look you're after anyway. But there's so many different ways and techniques that you could do blending. I've seen some beautiful, beautiful, beautiful pages by colorists that I've never seen before when I was surfing around on YouTube the other day. I was like, wow, I've never heard of them. It's quite interesting. You just come across things you've never seen. Or people who do drawings or paintings. And I don't paint, so you always see things and you're like, wow, that's so cool. It's interesting when you see what other people can do. I always find it really neat to see what other colored pencil artists can do, especially those that can draw. I'm like, wow, that looks so real. Then there's me, I just can color, that's it. I could put color to paper. Okay, now I'm going to get down here to this little guy. Starting at the bottom. Working my way up. Adding my fancy lime green color. And again, I'm still blending in circles here. Oh, missed a spot. Just working my way up. And again, right now, it doesn't look like much. Just looks like a bunch of color on paper. Okay, so now that I've done those 3, I'm going to take my 1089 and right up here where I left that edge of that white, I'm going to add this 1089 right along the edge. With just a little bit of pressure. So you can see how it changed that just a hair. That's all I want, is just the edge of that. Now over here on this leaf, I'm really lightly, I'm blending from that edge in. So I'm not blending from the inside out, I'm going from the edge in. So where I left it light, I'm adding that light color and I'm bringing it inward towards the darker color. And the reason for that is exactly what I said. I don't want to drag that dark color up into where I want the area to remain lighter. Because that's where the sun is kind of changed the color of the leaf from a natural green to kind of a greenish yellow. And I want it to stay that way. I don't want it to have the dark look to it. I want it to kind of have that natural sun bleached look. So, and I'm just going to keep it right at the edge here. And that's all I'm doing, is bringing the light to the dark. And I'm going to do just a little around the edge of this outer portion. Not all the way down, just a little. Okay. And the same for here. I'm just going around the very edge. Because like I said, this one has more of the light hitting it directly. So I'm just doing the very edge of it. And you can see that I'm not doing anything fancy. I'm just kind of following the edge down. And now I'm going to do the very tip right here, since that's about what's exposed. That's it, just that little bit. Now, I'm going to take my super fancy bright chartreuse. I'm just going to hit that tip right there with that chartreuse. That's it. And right here, with my chartreuse, I'm going to brighten up that white with some small circles, blending that really bright white with my chartreuse, giving it just that natural pop of sun-kissed color. So I'm blending those darkers together now. There's still that really fine white edge, but now you can see I'm mixing those dark colors a little bit. I'm not blending all the way down because I still want to keep my shadow. But I'm just giving it just a little bit of that glowy green look. Just a little bit. Could do that up here on this one. Since this leaf is a little bit lighter, even though we use the same colors, it's just a little bit lighter. And again, I'm just doing the edges where it's lighter on the outside, because again, that's where the direct light is. And here as well. And just FYI, we're not done yet. So you should still not be burnishing your page. I know you're probably thinking, wow, holy cow, can my paper take any more color? If you used good paper, yes. Okay, now we are going to grab your 988. If I could find my 988. Gretel, did you take off with 988? Is that the one you grabbed? You little monster. Tell me it's not the one you grabbed and ran off with. That's the one I need. Is it the one you ran off with? You heathen. Gretel, where is it? Oh, you little booger. I think it is. I think she took my pencil. Well, good time for a break while I go find my pencil. Be right back with the magic of video. It will be a second. Okay, with the help of a little camera trickery here, I found 988 on the floor. I had to put it in a pencil holder so Gretel can't run off with it again. So grab 988, and what we're going to do is we're going to come back in here with our 988, and now we're going to add some depth with a little bit, about a medium pressure, starting from the inside, working our way out. You hear her? That is Gretel making all that noise. So you can see what I'm doing. I zoomed in a little closer for you. Hopefully my hand's not in the way. You can see how I'm just going over that vein. Keeping that deep line there. All the way down. I'm just adding that detail in. I'm adding some color. And I'm still not burnishing my page yet. Anyways, I'm going to do this on all the leaves that we just did together. Wherever you want more shading or shadowing, put a little bit more of that 988 color. Just a light layer. Don't add too much. Keeping your light in mind. Okay, so see where you have your veins in your leaf now? Lightly go over them with your 988. Just hit them really lightly. You're going to go back over them with a different color in the end. That's really going to make them pop out. But for now, just really lightly go over them so you don't lose track of where they are. So when it comes here to the lighter area, only go over where they are the darkest, where your darkest color is, like that. Okay. So you're going to want to do that same thing on each one. Go over your veined areas. Gretel is making all that noise in the background. She's playing in a paper bag. Add in more of your shading. Oh, she got me boogered up right there. I'm going to have to work this at a different angle. Because she messed me up. And because I'm at the base right here, I'm going to go just a little bit darker because it's meeting that other leaf. Okay. Don't worry if it looks kind of weird right now. You're still going to apply some more color. Who knows what she's got? She's like having a toddler. that doesn't listen in the house. She's that Siamese handful. But anyways, I was saying that friend of mine that watches that Oak Island series. I watched it for a while and then I got so mad because I never find anything but wood and pottery. I'm like, I'm so over this show. Are they ever going to find anything worth a darn? Or are they just going to drag this out for the next 10 centuries? Okay, so I'm going to turn this because I can't work if I don't. And I'm going to do the same on this side. Just adding a little bit more of that dark color in here at each individual level. And I'm drawing in those vein lines. I'm just going over those dotted lines there. Down here, they're kind of hard to see. But that's why I'm doing it now, because once I start adding my shadowing, when it gets really dark, I'm not going to be able to see it, and I'm going to lose track. And don't worry if it doesn't look perfect. Nature is not perfect. I don't know what's gotten in Gretel tonight. She's just like on a roll. Okay, I'm going to come up here. Just going to add a little bit of dark color at the bottom here. And again, over those vein lines. Paying attention that I've got the lighter color at the top there. So I don't want to put too much. And right here, I'm just going to put a little dark at the bottom. I'm going to kind of leave it that golden color. Okay, so I see a little bit where I could put some of that darker vein in there. I can put a little more deep color down here. Just a little bit of that green. And then again, with this half of one down at the bottom here, I can put a little more of that nice deep green, that earthy green down here, and with that vein. Follow my lines. Okay. Anyways, I wish they would find something on that TV show, right? Okay. Now, take your lime green one more time and go over where you applied that 988 again. Now this time with medium pressure, blend that color. You're not burnishing, but you're just really giving it a good blend now. Don't blend it away, but just really blend that color in. You're not really focusing on blending away all the white spots in the paper. You just want to get a good even tone is what you're looking for. Don't blend away your vein lines though. Just kind of blend away as much of the imperfections in the two colors that you can see. So you kind of want to get a good even keel like that. Can you see that? Or did I push myself out of you? So you kind of just want to really blend that out. So using a circular motion is always the best way to get a good blend with Prismas. because you can really move that color around. So again, stay in between your vein lines when you're blending, because you don't want to blend that dark green line out. And those are kind of your marker lines, so to say. So just blend. Do each one really good. And you're going to come in with a final color, by the way. So nice medium pressure is all you need. Not heavy. If you're breaking tips, you're using your Prismas wrong. You're going way too heavy of a pressure. Don't be a pressure monster with your Prismacolors. I'm used to holding them, so sometimes I get down way to the tip. But if you're not used to it and you're really heavy-handed, hold your pencils more towards the end. It'll help you learn technique. Once you learn your technique better, you'll stop breaking tips as much. And you'll be able to work with a sharper point better. So again, I'm not trying to blend away every little white speck on this paper. This is really a heavy paper. This is probably like, 200 grain paper, so I'd be here all day if I tried to blend away every white speck on this grain. Okay, now I'm going to grab my 1089 and I'm just going to go back in here over my little bright white points. And you can see how it's really coming together now. Where that light and that dark has really taken shape. And now when I add that 1089 to these edges, it's really now standing out. It really pops off. And I'm going to do the same here. I'm just doing that edge. And you can see that color really comes off the page now. Same with here, where I had it before. I just went around the edge and just a little here. And right at the tip. Okay, put a little right there. Now, I got my 1067, which is your 90% in your gray family. So with this, be very gentle on your touch. I am going to go over my center vein. I'm not using black because that's too deep. It's too black. I don't want that. I would reach for this, or I'd reach for my 109 in my gray family. Now what I'm doing is I'm using this for more of a shading and highlighting those veins. Only where I want to put just a little bit more dark. And you notice I'm being very careful, very light touch here. That's all I'm doing. Just giving just enough. See how that just barely. Let's do this one down here. I'm going to do that bottom line here. So this gray really is going to throw in that final detail for you. It's really going to make it stand out. Again, you don't have to do every single vein all the way to the end of your outer leaf. You just want to add just enough where you think it needs the darkest shading. So that's all I'm doing is giving it just enough depth. And again, you don't have to use this color. You can use a different color palette if that's what you like. These are just what I picked. I'm going to come on down here to this little base here. Okay. I don't want too much dark here. And I'm going to come up here to this little one. And again, this little guy right in here. Just going to add a little tiny bit. Nothing too much. Okay. So if you want to give it a little more brightness, you could always come in here and take your chartreuse. And at this point, if you're going to add that chartreuse in here, in between your vein lines, you're probably going to be burnishing at this stage, which means you're not going to be able to add much more color. So make sure, if you want to do this and really make a bright color choice, that this is your final color. Because once you do this, it's really difficult to do a color correction, because you've pretty much just burned that color into the paper and burned that tooth, and there's really no more tooth for that color to grab onto. So as you can see, I'm not really blending that dark gray. I'm just going around it here. Okay. It's just basically building layer over layer over layer is all you're doing until you get it where you want it. And that's what's so great about Prismacolors, is building that color up until the color is what you want it to look like. And you could move those colors around. Perfect. And that's what you get. You get that fabulous look. So I'm going to zoom out here a little bit, if I can, without, oh my gosh, everything's always so complicated for me. I swear. Okay. So let me set this here. Can you see that? Can you see it? I can't see it, so I hope you can see it. Okay. Sometimes everything's more complicated than it should be, I think. Zoom out just a little bit more. Okay. Move this around. Okay, I'm going to let you finish 1, 2, 3 leaves. And then we will do together some of these little leaves on the berries. And we'll do this little white flower. And we'll do the stem together in the background. Again, the background's going to be pretty easy. It's going to be 2 colors again. So it's a simple background, but it's going to make a statement. So the 2 colors I chose for the background should really make these berries pop out, because the berries are your focal point of the page. The leaf colors I chose, they don't take away from the berry, which is kind of the point. You want the berry to stand up off the page. You don't want it to take away, but the background colors I chose should really make the berry stand out. So this flower is going to be a kind of a combination of a green and a white, which I think is a typical color of a blackberry berry flower. Did that make sense? Berry flower? Whatever. Anyways, we will start on this next, the stems and the little, what do you call those? The leaf of the berry? I think there's a name for it. I just don't know. Okay, so let's get ready to do that, okay? Okay, so you should have finished your leaves and your berries. So I'm kind of excited. We're going to do this little flower in the stems and the little leaf petals here under the berries. And then we're going to do the background. You have to forgive me. I'm so snotty. The tree pollen is high today. Plus, I went up to Flower World. It's this nursery we have full of flowers and flower starts. And I was a little late getting into the game this year, but my dad lit a fire under my butt and asked me for some, if they had starts, because normally he knows I do fuchsias. And I was late getting up there this year. So I went ahead and went up there and, of course, came back with a whole buttload of starts. Now I have to do baskets. Okay. Anyway, so here we are. The colors that we're going to play with for the stem and that little white flower, whitish, greenish, grayish flower is what we're going to accomplish here. We're going to use 1089, 1098, 988, 1005, 989, 912. Again, 1089, 1098, 988, 1005, 989, and 912. These are colors we should use, but there's a potential there that we might not use them all. I was tinkering with them. So as I go along, I may exclude one. We'll just see how the colors pan out. Now for the flower, the one flower. 120, 289, 1060, and 1034. I know those seem odd to you, but bear with me when we do it. It'll come together, I promise. But keep in mind, we're working on white paper. I like to work with tone paper a lot, and maybe one of the next ones I do, I'll use a tone tan or a gray or a blue paper, so you guys can really see the contrast and the color change when you use a tone paper. It makes a big difference in how your colors pop off the page, so to say. So let's get started, and we're going to do the flower first. So let's grab those colors again. It was 120, 289, 1060, and 1034. Oh, and grab your white too, just in case. Sometimes we have to have that white one. Okay, I'm going to scooch this off to the side. Move my handy little technology excuse so my phone don't get mad at me again. I've learned to beat technology at its little game. Okay, so I'm going to move this off to the side. kind of an angle, so hopefully you can still see the little flower we're working on. Okay, now we're going to start with 1060, which is your 20% cool gray. And with a light hand again, I never push hard. Just keep that in mind when you're doing these. And I'm going to put a really light coat of 1060 on all the petals. Just go ahead, avoid filling in your center though, but just put a light coat. It doesn't have to be perfect on all the inside petals there. Don't do the outside petal. That little line on the outside, leave that white. If you get a little on the outside or on the inside there, it's okay. You'll be able to cover that up. And again, you're just doing a little bit of a light coating, kind of like a base coat. Okay, now we're going to grab 120. I know it seems really weird, huh? Okay, and lightly again, you're going to just go a little bit around the edges here with your 120. See if I could zoom in for you so you can see what I'm doing a little bit better on this flower. Can you see that? I got to move my board upside down because that little thing's in the way. I'm going to maybe get me a different board. I think it's on my wish list somewhere, a different one of these. Okay, can you see better now? Because I don't do anything for profit, so I stopped doing the Amazon affiliate thing. Because when I do product reviews, I'm sent stuff from companies and it's sent to me anonymously most of the time, which means I get to keep the product, but they want an honest, unbiased opinion for the product, which means I don't know where it came from and I don't get paid to do it. And it conflicts with the Amazon affiliate thing. So I stopped doing that. So like I said previously, if I provide an Amazon affiliate link, I will do it with my buddy from across the pond. I call her my sister from across the pond, Claire. I have never met her. She's just fabulous. I'll provide one of her links to give her the credit because she's just awesome people. And why not? Okay, we're going to apply a little bit more of that 120 at the base and around the edges of all those petals. Just a real light coat. We're not filling in the whole flower, just around the sides and the edge. Just enough to turn it that little bit of green. But anyways, I'm allowed to have a wish list, and those items can come from wherever, from Amazon. And people can still send me stuff like coloring book artists, can send me books for reviews. But again, because I'm nonprofit, things that I get that I don't use or that I do a review on and that I don't use, I can give away for free in giveaways and stuff like that. Okay, now we're going to take our 1089. Here's where it gets fun. We are going to start in that center area where we didn't put anything but the 1060. And we're going to apply a medium pressure. And we're going to brighten up that center portion. And now we're going to kind of work it outward, going over that 120. Because we want the outward to stay a little bit darker shade of green. We're still going to do a small circle. But can you see what I did there? I know it's really hard to see on camera. So anywhere you left that little lighter area, put your 1089 and then move it towards the darker. So you want your brightest area to kind of stand out. And I know it's going to be hard to see right now, but you're going to do a couple layers like this. So it will come out, and your flower won't look so green in the end, I promise. Okay, now you're going to take your gray one again, your 1060, and you're just going to add a little around the edges, just to give a little bit of, I guess, shading in a way. It's not really going to apply too much, just a little. It's going to dull that green down a little. Anywhere those petals kind of touch, you're not going to see a whole lot of darkening. It's just a little shadowing, really ever so faint, because it's a delicate little bud. Okay. Now take your white, and in that center again, put that white. And you'll see that green really lighten up now. And I said there's always an exception to when you can use your white as a good blender. Now remember, don't drag your white down in and over to your green, because you'll take away from that green color. Because if you've ever really seen a wild blackberry flower, they're not really white, they're not really gray, they're not really green. They're kind of an in-between oddball color. Okay. Now I'm going to take my 1034 and I'm going to lightly fill in that little center bit. And I did forget a color, but we can come back to it before we do our background. I'm going to use my Posca. And if you don't have Posca, you can use a glitter gel pen. Which, you know what, I'll grab my orange glitter gel pen. And we'll do that. Or black, whatever you have works. You can even use yellow. I think I'll grab black, my black pencil, and my orange jelly roll. How about that? Let's do that. I'll grab my black pencil and my orange jelly roll when in between my break here. Okay, now with my 1089, I'm just going to do my edge here. Because when we do that background color, you're really going to see this 1089 pop off the page. And we are going to put some fine lines in here, don't worry. Now, take your white, go over that 1089 just lightly. And if you need to put more of your gray around the edges, you can. Just to give it that little shadowing, little bit of shadowing. I know it just seems like a really odd color combination, but it works. It works to just give that flower just something a little different. Okay, easy peasy flower. Because if you think about it, when these little petals, sometimes they, when they die off, but when that berry starts to form in the center, the wild blackberry is a little bit different. And it's hard to tell if that's an actual flower or if the berry's already starting to grow in the center and then these are the outward leaves that are starting to grow. So it's one of those things that I'm not sure. So I chose to go with the green there. Okay, anyway, let me zoom out just a hair so we can talk about... Okay, now the stems. Grab 1089, 1098. Where is 1098? Ooh. There it is. Okay, which is my artichoke. 988. Lime green, 1005. 989 and 912. And Yeah, let's start there. Let's start there for right now. Okay, let's do that. Okay. Okay. Now, I'm going to work from the top down so I'm not running my hand across my already colored page because I've already done that a couple times. We're going to start with 1089. And all I'm going to do is I'm going to put a nice light coat on every stem. Again, I am famous for doing base coats because it's easier to fix a mistake when you have a base coat, especially when you're working with really soft core pencils like Prismacolors. Prismacolors are one of the ultra soft cores. People say, oh, polychromos are a soft core. They are. But there is no pencil like polychromos out there. But polychromos are a unique blend of vegetable oils and other binders. They are what is called a true oil pencil. Prismacolors are a true ultra soft colored pencil. They are unique in their blend, and it's a patented blend. So no other colored pencil on the market is like them unless you start dipping into oil pastels. So all I'm doing is a quick light coat again on all these stems. I'm not pushing heavy. I'm just changing the color from white to green. Okay. And I know some of you more advanced colorists don't need to hear what I'm doing. But for some of you who are just starting out, I hope some of this is helpful for you. Okay. Hopefully I didn't miss any spots here. I notice I didn't do the petals. Okay. Now for the petals, the first thing we're going to do, we're going to come back to the stems. Don't worry. I just want to kind of throw in some steps as we're going along, because I'm not going to do every single one of these leaf petals with you, but I'm going to do quite a few. We're going to take your lime green and a really nice light coat. So a single layer of lime green on each leaf, just really lightly. Can you see that okay? Do I need to zoom in? Okay, oops, jiggle, jiggle. Okay, I'm trying to keep you in view. So just a really light coat. Don't worry about being even or perfect, because this is just your base color. That's all you're doing. Just throwing down an initial color to work with. Again, I'm not going to do all of them with you. I'm going to leave you to your own vices to practice on your own, but we're going to do several here, because I want to get to that background. Otherwise, this video is going to be ridiculous long. But like I was saying, I know for some of the beginners, it's nice to have some talk through as well as some color along. And again, I do have some that take step by step through the whole entire thing. But it just takes practice. And man, I'm not that great. There are some colorists out there that are just knock your socks off. Okay, so now I'm going to jump into grabbing my my very dark one, which was my 988. So right now, what I'm going to do with 988, I'm going to go over here to these, I guess, leafy petals, whatever you want to call them. And I'm going to put just a little color right around the edge, right where it kind of touches that berry. Just a tiny bit. We're not adding a whole lot. We just a little bit. Okay. Can you see that? Okay. Because you're going to put more color in here. So you don't want to go really heavy. You will be using this color as a final color too. So just heads up there. So it's really important you don't go crazy with this really dark color right now, because this is where you can really make a mess. You're just kind of going around it, because when you're blending, this is just going to add that subtle shade. Now, think about what we talked about before, where your light's kind of coming down and hitting. Now, if you colored your picture in the way I did, where the light's coming this way, because I put my little white dots where the sun or light would be hitting this way. So your darker shade would be on your left and your light would be on your right. So my darker side would be here on my left. So I'm going to outline the outside of my stock with this darker green just on the one side. Not heavy, but I'm just giving it a quick little coat. And you can kind of see that makes it stand out a little bit. I'm just following the contour of that. That's it. And I'm going to go up in here. Don't worry if your lines go off, because the background color, really, the color that we're going to use getting close to these sides is going to be a good color to cover that up. So if you go off, it's okay. So the reason I'm doing both sides here is because it's in between everything. So you got shadow on both sides because the light's being blocked on all sides. Okay, now around your flower, take this dark green and go in between your petals here. Am I in view? So outline your flower petals with that dark green. See how I'm doing that? I'm going in between the petals, following Ellie's drawing. All that's doing is making the individual petals stand out. I'm not recreating, I'm just highlighting. Because you'll notice those grays and those whites and those muted tones kind of dull it out, right? So you want to bring it back to life a little bit. So that's all I did here. See? Kind of gives it some, hey, hello, I'm awake. All right, so we're going to put that color just off to the side. Now we're going to grab 1098, which is your artichoke. Now back up here to your petal thingy, guys. And I'm just going to lightly blend upward from the bottom up. I'm not going all the way to the tip, and I'm only doing the sides. I'm just kind of small circles, I guess half circles in a way. Just giving a little bit of that artichoke green and that gray, kind of blending it together. Maybe halfway to 3/4 up that leaf. Going around the edge. And it doesn't have to be perfect, because you still got some more colors you're going to add in there. And I'm just going to do the same, repeat this on every single one. So I'm going to keep it uniform to make every single leaf look the same. But you notice we used just a slightly different color than the big full leaves, by changing like some of the greens that we used. Nothing too dramatic though. Because you want a difference. You don't want everything to blend together. Okay. Now, using that same color, just where the stems are touching the leaves and the plants, kind of just put a little bit of that golden green in there. Am I in your way? Can you see that? So right here, really lightly at the bottom, and up here where that little fat piece is, I like to call that like the water reservoir. Color that with your artichoke and bring it down just a little bit, and then maybe a little around that leaf. So you're going to want to do that. Sorry for the silence. I'm still watching that series called The Midwives. It's more noise than anything in my background. It's a good spot to show you how to blend that artichoke with this leaf right here. And you bring it down. So you're grabbing some of the previous color from that leaf and you're just kind of blending it downward. See how it comes together? Because you already put that base color in there. So it gives a good little blend. You've got something to work with besides just the grain of the paper. And it's a nice golden color. So it's still green, but it's a little brown. But anyway, you're going to want to do that for each and every one. Okay, now grab your lime green again and go over what you just did, but don't go all the way to the tip. But this time, give it just a little bit more pressure. Not heavy. Never go heavy with your Prismacolors, ever. You'll break tips. But again, you're just putting another layer, basically. I mean, a light pressure should work just fine because you're building layers. Again, I'm using a really thick paper, so don't pay no mind to my paper versus your paper. You'll notice I still have lots of little white flecks, and that's because this is really hefty. You could use watercolors on this. It's so thick. Don't ask me why. I think I bought a ream of this, and I'm just burning through it. Okay. Now, with my lime green, I'm just going to go over those stems, working from the brown or the artichoke, and I'm kind of pulling it towards the center. So wherever I put it, I'm going over it and pulling it towards the center. It's really hard to do small circles in such a tight space. So I'm just kind of repeating and pulling, repeat and pull. Okay, and we'll just do that little spot I did down here. Okay, now I'm going to grab my 1089 again, and I'm just going to add right in the center of my stems to brighten it up. Just the center spot. Now I'm going to grab my 989, my chartreuse, and I'm going to go over the tips. And this is where your blend should really come together and you start getting that almost burnished look where it's really shiny. Can you see that okay? Try to do this so you can see it without watching my hand. Again, it's hard because it's such a small space. And when you repeat layers, you got to do it a couple times. So you're just small circles, blending those colors together and working it up to that white tip. And you kind of get that multicolor tone going on now. Or you should anyway. You should get a beautiful blend of colors. Okay, now I'm going to take my 912 because it's really limey green. So with my 912, I'm going to come in at the base here and use my 912 as my shading color. So I'm going around where the leaves touch, and I'm just putting a little bit of that 912, kind of mixing it in there. See if I can. I think it's a better spot up here for you to see what I'm doing. It's just going to kind of darken up the end. And it's going to use just the right green to give it that extra little color that I want. So it's not too lime green, not too fluorescent green. But you can still see the golden brown color from the artichoke. And you can still see that lime green color. So you get the best of all of it. You could always come back in with like a deep brown if you want more shading. If you really want to put deep shading or deep detail, you could use your 90% cool gray. I think this works pretty good though. I think that works beautifully with that apple green in there. Now, you could take your 1034 if you like, and you could put a little bit of the color on the end. Am I still in your camera view here? Because this is in the sunlight. So you know the sun cooks stuff. It gives it that little bit of sun-kissed color. You can apply a little bit of that golden color around the edges. You can use reds, oranges, yellows. You can use whatever color you choose. You don't have to do the orange at all. Sometimes I'll use a red, sometimes I'll use orange, and I don't always do all my leaves. But it's a great way just to give it some extra color if you like. And it's very subtle. So let's go ahead and we could do some of these down here since there's just enough time. I think we did the lime green down there, right? Yeah. Let's do this. Let's add some of the artichoke here, right? Let's do our little dark colors here. Don't forget this guy. But I'm going to let you finish your leaves, and then we'll do our background colors. So we can, this will be posted by the time I say so I can post this video. But I have a couple things that I have to do. I have a birthday party for a friend of mine. She's going to be 50. Yes, my age is showing. I'm old. Us Gen X types, we don't like to brag or celebrate our birthdays. It's just, I don't know, it's a generation thing. But she's going to be 50, and it's kind of funny because we grew up so close to each other. And she reminded me when we were kids of some of the silly stuff we did. And I was like, oh my gosh, that's right. So I went on a little treasure hunt trying to find something today. And I found it. I couldn't believe I found it. I can't believe they still made it. I hope it makes her laugh anyway. Oh, can you still see what I'm doing? I'm just at the bottom here where I'm going to fill in that little stump part of this branch, I guess. But I'm just going to go up a little bit more with this artichoke color. But so the strawberry one I'm going to do next, but it might be a day or two before I get it up. So please be patient because I got a bunch of stuff going on. I'm going to try to at least get part 1 of the 2 parts posted, and I know that might make you guys mad, but it's better than nothing, right? But I will do my best. So, okay, I'm going to let you finish this really quick. I'm going to take a break, but with the magic of video, I'll be back before you even know it. Okay, it's magic. I'm back. I'm finished. Not done, but I finished my leaves, my stems, my berries, and you should be done too. Okay, if you look really close, right here, this little guy, I applied some more of the 1034, but I did a little bonus. I used my raspberry, my 1030, and I applied a little raspberry around the edges of this unripe berry. Like the sun has been really kissing that berry because it's in direct light. So you could always put a little bit more around the base of the berry, almost like the berry is kind of ripened, but not really. You know how you see those and they're growing? It's almost like they started to ripen, but they stopped growing for some reason. Who knows what happens to them? But anyways, just another way of, you know, when you see unripe berries in your artwork, another way of blending. But that's a color you want to add in the end because it blends really nicely over top the green. But let's get cracking on this background. But first, I grabbed my gel pens. So you could have grabbed your dark cool gray, your 90%, your black pencil, a black gel, an orange gel, or Posca's, whatever works for you. So in this case, I grabbed my black pencil, a black jelly roll, and an orange jelly roll. I think that's orange. It's the closest I had anyway. So we're going to go to this little flower here really quick. Can you see what I'm doing? Let's zoomy. Since I'm being lazy and I'm not even in my office lately, I'm just sitting on my couch. Okay. Those little inside pollen, the sepals, is that what they're called? I'm going to draw those little lines in with my black. Oh, good. The pencil's showing up pretty good. So I'm drawing those little lines back in with my black pencil. Perfect. That worked really good. Now I'm going to take my orange gel. I don't think I've ever used this one. I'm going to test her on my hand. Okay. I'm going to fill in those little pollen makers right at the top. What's messing up my sinuses and my eyeballs. My car has just got a thick green coating. There, that looks so pretty. And you can even use your orange jelly. This one's a glitter. So right in the center there, just dotting that where I filled in that little bit of orange. There. Give it a little bit of bling bling. It's always fun to add some bling, but you never want to add too much unless you're really going all out. Okay, while that dries, my background colors are 1009 which is Dahlia Purple, and Process Red, which is 994. These are the two colors that we are going to use that is going to make the berries pop off that page. And that is the goal, because these are your focal points and that little flower. When you look at this bookmark, once it's laminated, that's what your eye is going to go to, and that's kind of what you want. You don't want to be all over the page. You really want to see that. So we're going to start with the darker of the two colors, and I'm going to work from the top down so I'm not running my hand. And now this could get dusty, so it'd be handy if you had a little brush. So I'm going to work on the inner portion, the really small spots first. And I always like to start by adding a small light coating. And I know you're thinking, oh my gosh, that's so close to the berries. Don't worry about that right now. Just put a light coat around. And don't worry about the hairs on the stems, because we'll go back in and add those back later. And I'm going to zoom out just a little bit. You can zoom in on your own by, oh gosh, it's going to hassle me now, huh? Of course it is, because it wants my other finger. Oh, come on. Of course. See? Everything's got to be so complicated. Oh, come on. There we go. Okay. You can zoom in. There is a video again in my mix of videos that it's not my video. I didn't make it. Try to adjust you here. I think I bumped my camera when I was getting up. But it is a video I posted in my group of videos on how to zoom in and out, whether you have an iPhone or an Android. So it's the same method, just doing this. And you can do it on YouTube videos. I think you have to rotate your phone from this way to this way. So, you know, just turn it and then you can zoom in and out. Okay, let's back to this. So a light coat again in all the small spaces. So we're going to go from the center out with our dark color. So dark to light is what we're doing. And the reason for the light coat first is I like to put a base coat down where I want the dark coat. At least to start, because I can always apply more. Again, it's that you can always add more color, especially when it comes to dark colors. It's easier to add than it is to take away. Taking away dark color, ooh, that's really can be difficult. So starting with a light color or a light base color, especially when you're doing dark colors, is always best. Plus, this gives you an idea on your ratio, how much you want to put in of each color. So again, I'm just following the outline of what's already here of my plants and flowers and berries. Just kind of going around it. For the most part, I'm using small circles because it blends the best when you lay down your other colors. Again, I got to get in between some of these little tighter spaces. So I'm focusing on the top portion. Hopefully you can see me. Just going to go around every little area here just to start. Again, it's a different color than we used on the berries, and it's going to come out very different. So it's going to be a nice contrasting color when we're done. Still going to be a nice bright color though. I think you'll be happy with the result in the end. And trust me, I went through a lot of test colors picking this background. ugh. And if you know from watching my videos, you know I don't like the color purple. But this was the better choice of all the colors I picked, because some of the other colors I picked I want to use for the strawberry background. I was like, oh no, that's better for the other ones. So this one just worked out to be the better choice. Okay, go around my little white flower here. And again, I'm not going to do this whole thing on video. I'll do bits and pieces. For the most part, I expect you to do this on your own to get the end result. Okay, I'm just going to finish this little spot. I'll get you started up top, because it's the same method all the way down the whole page. Okay, now I've got kind of my outline of semi where I want some of my purple to go. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to come back up here and I'm going to start to apply just a little more layer. I'm not doing a heavy pressure. I'm just going to do another layer of this dahlia purple, because you don't want to put a heavy coat down because you're going to blend another color with it. And if you go too heavy, it's really hard to blend with. You really got to work it. And then you're going to get hand cramps, hand fatigue. It becomes a real alligator. You like that word, alligator? It's better than dropping a swear word. I don't think people appreciate that. And trust me, sometimes it's hard for me. I accidentally do it, and I don't mean to, so I'm sorry. I forget sometimes that I'm on camera, and I'm like, oops, my bad. So don't get mad at me if I accidentally do that. It's that old military in me, it comes out. It's like, oh, well, shoot. Sometimes you can take that out of people. Sometimes it's in there for life. Anyways, I'm just repeating the same thing, going over where I've already got the color, getting into those fine little detail spots. Okay, I'm going to get in here to some of the finer points. Because, you know, when you're working with the sharp tip, you want to get your fine spots first, because you'll dull your tip really quick when you're doing backgrounds. And, you know, you don't have to use colored pencil for a background. You can use chalk pastels, and sometimes I do use pastels. It just depends on what type of background I'm doing. But this is a fairly small space, so might as well use my pencils. It's just about patience. And I find that when you're doing backgrounds, light, small circles lessens your hand fatigue so dramatically. It's all about patience. People want to rush through that last bit, and then they get mad at themselves because it didn't turn out the way they worked so hard on the picture, and they're frustrated with their end result. So just keep your patience to your very end, and you'll be happier for it. Just like I was saying in the last video, choosing your colored pencils. And that one person that commented that I replied back about the colored pencils and choosing where you purchase them from. She's absolutely right. I think she said that she gets her stuff from Blick. I love Blicks. There's a Blick near me. Well, not near me, but it's in Seattle. And I like shopping there. I don't get down there too often because, you know, with traffic, if you're in the States, when we say, oh, that's just an hour away, that's close. You know, we don't just get in our car and drive across, 5 minutes and we're in downtown. 30 minutes to 45 minutes, that's a quick drive for us to get somewhere. So for me to go to Seattle, it depends on traffic, time of day, how long it takes. It could take 2 hours. It can take 45 minutes. It really just depends. It's a coin toss. And traffic can be such a nightmare some days. And if there's a car accident, forget it. You could be in traffic for 4 hours. And by that time, you don't even want to go anymore. You'd just rather go home. Because by that time, you're so frustrated sitting in that traffic. It's like, forget it. I'm done. Okay. Anyways, you can see I'm just, again, following the pattern of what's the leaves and the berries, what's already there. Just repeating my color over the layer. I'm getting close to the leaf just enough to get the color in there. And my little tight little spaces down here. Get a little bit darker coat in there of this dahlia. So multiple layers in there. Because once you apply that final color, it's all going to blend together. And it's going to look so pretty. But yeah, I like Blicks. And where you buy your pencils really determines what you get. It really, truly does. And I've bought pencils from on sale that were deals, only to get them and find out, they weren't such a deal because it came from a third-party seller, and they were either old or just weren't stored right, and they were beat up to begin with. So you just never know what you're going to get. But at least if you buy from a licensed seller, you get a guarantee on the product. That means if something's wrong, you can just take them back to that store and there's no questions asked. You get your money back or they exchange them. That's why if you buy from Amazon, which Amazon is a licensed seller for a lot of top brands, just make sure it says shipped and sold by Amazon. Then it has the Amazon guarantee on them. So if you get them and something's wrong with them, there shouldn't be an issue with a refund or an exchange. But if it says sold by Amazon but shipped by somebody else, then you know it's a third-party seller. Okay, so I'm going to come up here and just do a little feathering out of this darker color. Put a little more right up here. I don't want to go too overboard. Now, I'm going to put a little bit more of this deep dahlia just around the edge where it's touching the plant life. I'm not going to drag it out too much darker. I just want to get a little bit going around the plant. You can see how I'm doing that. I don't want it too dark, but I just want that little extra contrast there. Because it really makes that green stand out with that purple. So I'm just giving that extra little bit of dark color here. I'm going to come back in here in my little spaces. Put that extra bit in there of that dark. Again, I'm just light layers, small circles again. Make sure to get in there in those tight spots. I'll come up around my berry. And don't worry about your final details. We'll do that in the end. For now, we're just going to focus on the background. We'll do those final steps at the very, very end. Okay, I'm going to get right up in here. And then we'll get on our second color. Because, you know, video magic, as soon as I apply this second color in the upper portion, video magic, my background will be done. And then we can go to the details. But, you know, in all reality, I'm over here working on it. Isn't that funny? Okay. Okay. Now, I left that little white spot in the center there. I'm sure you saw that. Okay. Now I'm going to set this aside because I'm going to take my processed red and I'm going to start right in those smaller spaces and I'm going over my dahlia. And you're going to notice right away it changes that color of dahlia purple to this rich fuchsia mulberry reddish purple color. It's a beautiful color. And you're going to want to do multiple layers because at this point, if it's too red, you can add more purple, but your final color should be the dahlia red, which should really burnish the page or almost burnish it. Again, I'm using a really hefty paper, so I'm not really focused on burnishing this page. Not on camera anyway, because it's a lot of work. But you can see what I mean when I said, don't worry that it's so dark right now because it's going to change. When you're adding colors and you're blending them, it makes a big difference. Your colors will always change. And that's why I say working with multiple sets of colored pencils, it could be really hard for a beginner. It's always best to find a brand you like and stick with it for a while until you learn them. And then once you learn those colors, it'll be so much easier to start learning color blending because you'll know your colors. You'll know what's in that set. You'll recognize the names. It'll be just second nature. And it's not because, you know, red is red, orange is orange, blue is blue. I mean, every set has a different name on their colors. So we can recognize color just by looking at it. But one pink is different from another pink. So it's important that you figure out which brand you like and just stick with it for a while. And once you do, you'll be a lot happier and you'll start to figure out what brand you like as an artist. Because some people have been, you know, they're really good artists, sketch artists. And they're really, really good colorists, like beyond anything I could do. Plus, they're a sketch artist. And they use bottom of the barrel pencils. And sometimes it doesn't even matter what they use. They just don't care. They can do just about anything. But that's the difference between knowing and not knowing. They probably have one brand of pencil that they've used for a very long time. And they know the color, they've got it down, and they're used to it. They have a favorite brand. But because they've learned that and they figured out the basics and understanding of the color theory, they can pretty much pick up any brand and just run with it with just the basic colors. So that's why I say find a brand you like. It doesn't matter what brand it is. If it's a cheap brand or an expensive brand, just find one you really like and stick with it for a long time. And sometimes it could take years to learn that. But we all have lots of colored pencils, lots of different brands. And it's artist choice. Not all expensive colored pencils are the right pencil for every artist. I'm just going to put that out there. Okay, and you can see how it takes a while to blend these background colors. I know I see it a lot, and I hear it a lot. People say, how do you get rid of the white spots in your paper? Well, that's the grain of the paper. You just got to keep building your layers slowly and slowly and slowly. It's tedious. It really is. But this is how you do it. And you just repeat, 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 repeat. I'm going to rotate this a little bit. Kind of at an angle. You just keep doing this over and over and over until you've blended those layers, like it ends up like this. And it can get boring, it can get tiresome, but your end result is so much better if you slowly work the process than if you rush through it. Because if you rush through it, you don't get a good even blend, and it never comes out good. You want that blend to look even, and you want those color seams to be flawless for the most part, unless you want a sharp color line. But for the most part, you want those two colors to blend together so that it looks more natural, like they fade together without that really sharp line. And the best way to get that is a circular motion, because you're kind of moving it into the grain of the paper. So that wire sure gets in my way sometimes. Can you still see? So again, all I'm doing is just small circles. I'm starting with the dark color, and I'm moving that color around, blending it with the red, the processed red, moving it up. So I'm just going to keep doing this until I got a good mix. And then if I want to add more of the dark in, I can go back, add more of the dahlia where I want more, and then repeat this until I got the colors just right, how I want them, before I add my final layer of the processed red, which will burnish your paper. And at that point is when you'll start seeing a heavy wax bloom, and you won't be applying too much more color. And I hear that a lot of people, how come I'm getting such a heavy wax bloom? One of two things, you're burnishing your paper or you're using too much pressure. Because you see, I don't have any dust or wax bloom coming off this at this point. But I will as I start burnishing that color. As I start blending more and more, you'll start seeing more and more of the wax bloom, because I'm moving the color around. So you will start to see that. And it happens. It's pretty normal with almost any kind of colored pencil, dry, medium. You're not going to get away from that. Some has more than others. It just really depends. Like Prismacolors, they use paraffin, graphite, clay binders for their cores of their pencils. But Polychromos uses a patented blend of vegetable oils, waxes, graphites, and other pigments to blend their cores. So they are a true oil pencil, where some of the other manufacturers say their pencils are actually oil pencils, but when you look up the ingredients, there's not 1 ounce of any kind of oil, like vegetable oil or otherwise. They are made from wax. The term wax is just thrown around too loosely to describe colored pencils, and I think they do it to describe softer, hardcore pencils more often than they should, which can be frustrating because it really, what's the word I'm looking for? It can be really confusing to people because most colored pencils are made with a blend of different waxes. And what is wax made from? Unless it's made from bees. Well, it's paraffin. And paraffin is what? A byproduct of oil. Sometimes, depending on where the wax is from. So, again, it just boils down to what exactly the pencils are made with. And I like to know. I like to look them up and see what the MSDS sheet says. And now some of the blends are protected, so it won't tell you everything that's in the pencil blend. But Prismacolor doesn't keep what they use a complete secret. They keep the recipe a secret. So it's very patented. So there's no pencil out there quite like them. Okay, I'm going to try to get this corner nice and blended so you can at least see a nice finished corner. And then I'm going to let you do your background on your own. And then we'll come back and we'll do the final details together. So I want you to keep working your background. Don't lose your patience, especially around your details, around your leaves. Just keep working, keep blending. Be patient. Work the grain of the paper. I know it's easy to get frustrated, but don't. And keep rotating your pencil. That way it's less risk that you'll break your tip. And don't get heavy-handed. People will tend to get heavy-handed when they do backgrounds, and that's just because their hands getting tired. If your hand's getting fatigued, you're either moving too fast or you're pressing too hard. So slow down and lighten up your pressure. That will lessen the pressure and hand fatigue. And if you're still cramping up, just take a break. Now, I have arthritis in my hands, so I know that hand cramping's an issue. But just know that I understand. So it's all about technique. We're getting here in that corner, so I want you to see the contrast with the two colors and what yours should look like if you get a good blend going. Looks like Gretel's been running her claws across my paper again. She always leaves those lines on my paper because she sits on it. What is with cats and sitting on your paper? If I leave my pages out, she'll sit on them. She sticks her fat, furry little butt on my paper and then leaves lines in my, like embosses lines in my paper with her claws. So when I try to color on them, I can't. It just leaves this mark in my paper and it drives me crazy. She's, you know, I've had Bengals, and they're quite the breed of cat. If you've ever owned one, they're pretty sassy cats. But Gretel, being a Siamese, she is mouthy, demanding, sassy. She can be ornery. Oh, she's like the Energizer Bunny times 100. That kid doesn't stop. And when she doesn't get her way, she just will sit there and meow and meow and meow until I come in the room. And then when I come in the room, she rolls over on her back and shows me her belly like, what? And all she wanted was just for me to know that she was in the other room and for me to come out there. That's it. She was strictly attention seeking. That's all she was doing. She's such a little heathen. So my aunt has her brother, the little white one. He's a chocolate point Siamese, and he's just adorable. He's as cute as she is. They came as a pair. They were rescued together. And we compare them all the time, their behavior, their size, their behavior, the antics, their little crazy things they do. And they are definitely 2 peas in a pod, if not Siamese twins. It's quite comical. And he's a little bit bigger than she is. Well, I don't know about weight-wise now, little Miss Pork Chop over here. If she doesn't quit eating, I'm going to put her on Kitty Jenny Craig. She's already on a timed feeder. I don't know why she's getting so fat. She doesn't get extra food or anything. She's just getting pudgy. She gets a low-calorie diet. I don't give her excess. She gets a managed food. She gets plenty of exercise. She's just a little pork chop. So I nicknamed her Porkahontas. She's so cute, though. And Gretel, because she was found in the woods. Originally, her brother and her were Hansel and Gretel. But now it's just Gretel, so. But I wasn't going to change her name. Okay, let's get this little edge right here. Hopefully I'm still in your camera view. Talking, I wasn't paying attention. Hopefully I didn't get too far out. Just want to go around this little spot here for you. But as you can see how I was blending, now you're seeing like I was talking, I'm getting a little bit of that color bloom. And again, that's normal because I'm starting to burnish my paper, which is where you start to see the shiny. And you can see where Gretel ran her claw right there. That white mark. Ugh, she's such a monster. And right around that berry there. Okay, I'm going to zoom in for you. I'm far from done, but I want you to see the color blend variation. Maybe. Can I zoom? Can I not zoom? Oh my gosh, why is it only this hand that works? Okay. Okay, zoom, zoom, zoom. Are we good? Okay, I'll hold this up here. So, see the contrast right here with the dahlia purple and the processed red? That's what you want. So, if you want to go more dahlia purple and you want more darker, add just another layer of that dahlia purple in there before you burnish. So you're going to want to complete all of this, put your dahlia down first and do it multiple layers. So again, you're not having your hand fatigue. And just keep repeating the process all the way down till you get your background filled in. And then we're going to add the final details and we'll be done with it. And it's going to be stunning when it's finished, I promise. Okay, we'll be back.